And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Belgium. We're live here for round 4 of the 2021 NOSSCAR GT Cup Series season, hosted right here on Gran Turismo Sport, Circuit de Spa Francorchamps, folks. We have 16 drivers set to take the starting grid, and on the pole leading them to the start-finish line is the Canadian driver of Ned. Even Steven, two-time world champion and defending champion in this series, will be in second for the beginning of it. The green lights are on, the green flag is in the air, and these GT Cup Series drivers are thundering into turn 1 as we speak. Very large road course. They're going to get a lot of speed down this front straightaway, the second long straightaway of the racetrack actually, just after turn 1 and before the chicane. In this series, folks, you will see Chevy Corvettes battle it out with Dodge Vipers, Audi R8s, the Mazda Atenzas, Nissan GTRs, you name it. You'll see them here. Everything smooth here so far on lap 1, 60-minute endurance races. It really opens the door for a lot of strategy on the pit stops, and we've seen that play into factor on who stands on the podium many times here in the NOSSCAR GT Cup Series. Right now, Ned leads the way, but he's got Trenton Krentz not too far behind him there in second place. Third place, the Godfather, Bill Baldwin. Jesse Carlson scored in 4th, and Timac, the Canadian, scored in the 5th position. The driver out of France in this race, Beam SKP, scored in 6th. In 7th in the Nissan GTR, we have Jeffrey Robinson Jr. looking for his first win here today. He's getting closer and closer. There's Cameron Norton, Chevy Corvette with the 88 there, and tribute there to Dale Earnhardt Jr. Shadow in the Ferrari scored in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 as of right now is Daniel McGriff, and it looks like he's driving, I believe that's an Audi R8. Yes, it is. And you'll have to forgive me, folks. My voice is definitely on cruise control right now for tonight. It's definitely not up to par, but I'm here, and we're going to bring you the action. Spa Francorchamps, round 4 of the season. The top 3 have begun to break away a little bit from the rest of the field as they come around to complete lap 1. You can see then back to 4th, it's a battle there between Jesse Carlson and the Corvette, and Timac and the Nissan GTR. Timac has a win at this track, but it's in the Super GT Series in the GR1 category class. No wins here at this track in the GT3. And Beam SKP has stood on the podium once in the Super GT Series, looking to do it again here in the GT Cup. Finished on the podium in this year's Rolex 8, and he also was in the GT Cup class for that event, so he knows this Dodge Viper very well. He's driven it a lot this season. He's getting good results. He's got Jeffrey Robinson Jr. in the GTR, just about 5-6 car lengths behind him as they work their way up the longest stretch of the circuit, but I wouldn't really call it a straightaway. There is a couple of bends in it, and now they're working their way through the chicane, coming up to turn 6, and the battle for the lead looks like this, folks. Even Steven, the black number 15 Audi R8, taking a look to the inside. He'll make it work, but he gets the right side tires over into that green strip, and folks, that green strip is like ice. There's no grip there. And so Ned is going to return the favor and work his way to the inside of this long swinging left-hand turn. And Bill Baldwin in the Mazda Atenza looking to capitalize, and they're going to boot the two-time world champion and defending champion of the series back to 3rd place after he was in the lead there for a couple of corners. And now Bill Baldwin overdrives the next corner. Definitely got his right sides into the gravel trap there, but carried enough speed to the point where it didn't really slow him down that much, and therefore he was able to hold on to 2nd place, at least for the time being, because now here comes even Steven back again. And while all of this is going on, it's allowing the leader Ned to drive away, but it's also allowing Jesse Carlson in the 48 and Timac in the 32 to gain some ground in that Corvette and the GTR. be a 5-car dance here for the race lead. In just a matter of moments, they come around now to complete lap 2, a very long, very challenging circuit. A lot of elevation changes, a little bit of everything offered here, and less braking points than most driving these cars. Takes a while for them to get up to speed compared to the Super Formula cars that we run here for the World Championship and the GR1 category cars that we run here for the Super GT Series. It's a very different animal here in these GR3 class cars. You can see Bill Baldwin overdrove a little bit there. Well, maybe not overdrove, but he didn't hit the line that he wanted there through that bend up that long stretch, and now they're coming up to the chicane. Behind him is Trenton Krentz, scored in third place. Now that the top 3 have settled down a little bit again, you can see what the gap looked like. Back to Jesse Carlson in the 48. Jesse doing a great job. The Alex Bowman, number 48, Ally paint job, tribute there. And a couple of weeks ago, Jesse finished in 6th place at Blue Moon Bay Speedway, the challenging triangle-shaped oval track here on Gran Turismo Sport. And if you missed that race, definitely check it out after this one. It was a wild battle for the win between Ned, even Steven, and Footman. Contact was made, a couple of penalties handed out, and won't spoil who won it for you. Definitely check that out after you're done watching this one. You're watching Round 4, 2021 NOSSCAR GT Cup Series, hosted here on Gran Turismo Sport. 60-minute endurance races, no custom tuning to these cars, and the balance of performance setting has been turned on. Alters the weight and horsepower of these cars a little bit here and there just to make sure that everything is a bit more even. Comes down to driver skill. Contact made there for the lead. Bill Baldwin made a move to the inside. Ned tried to keep him alongside him for those last 2 turns, but they're very tight, very technical corners. Now they're 3 wide for the race lead. 2-time world champ Even Steven backs out of that one, and he's going to let Ned and Bill Baldwin sort this out. And it looks like the power of that Dodge Viper is going to prevail over in turn 1. Mazda Atenza, Bill Baldwin, his car a bit more known for its cornering abilities and its stability rather than its horsepower, and you can see it up this long stretch up the hill, full throttle through there, and still full throttle all the way down this long straightaway before the chicane, and they're all locked bumper to bumper, or at least they were. Now they're hitting the brakes a little bit just to kind of set themselves up for the next turn. Get some breathing room, get some space in between their cars, just a little bit. The draft is definitely a factor down those 2 long straightaways that on this circuit. It allows them to close right in. Top 5 battling hard here for the lead. And all 5 of them are a completely different car. Dodge Viper leads, Mazda Atenza in 2nd, Audi R8 in 3rd, Chevy Corvette in 4th, Nissan GTR in 5th, and then not too far behind these guys, Team SKP in the Dodge Viper, scored in the 6th place position. And the 7th place position belongs to Jeffrey Robinson Jr. in the Nissan GTR. I apologize for the background noise. 8th position belongs to Cameron Norton in the Chevy Corvette. 9th, good battle here actually. Ferrari, Shadow, trying to hold off the Audi R8 of Daniel McGriff, and they've been side by side apparently for a couple of laps, a couple of different times. Ooh, Shadow overdrives a little bit, and problems for Daniel McGriff. He spins. They both had a bit of a wild left turn there, and Daniel might need to bring that car to the pits. He's definitely got a little bit of front end damage, minor contact with the wall, but doesn't take much to really affect these cars. Meanwhile, back up at the front, top 5 still basically locked nose to tail. Jesse Carlson and Tyler McMurder have all joined this battle as well, and it's still being led by Ned, the Canadian, in the Dodge Viper. 3 different countries represented in the top 6 in the running order right now. Ned, the leader, Ned of Canada. Highest running Canadian in the race. Highest running American driver in the race would be Bill Baldwin, 2-time NOSSCAR Super GT Series champion. And the highest running driver out of France is Beam SKP, 2-time race winner in the NOSSCAR Tailgate Truck Series on NASCAR Heat 5, and he scored in the 6th position here on Gran Turismo Sport in this particular event. Still looking for that first NOSSCAR win on Gran Turismo Sport. We have a change for the race lead. Bill Baldwin in the 21. We call him the Godfather. He's been around in NOSSCAR since the very beginning of NOSSCAR on Gran Turismo Sport, since 2019 when all of this began. Working the 3rd annual season for this particular series, and Bill Baldwin has won many races. He's stood on the podium many times, and he's looking to let it happen again here, looking for that sunrise again. Only this time it's in Belgium, circuit to Spa Francorchamps, folks. And we started with 16 drivers, and we are getting a report. We have 11 of them left on the racetrack. They are working lap 5 as of right now. Excuse me, lap 6 rather. 5 are complete. It's a 60-minute endurance race. They are 11 minutes into the event. On the left side of your screen, you will see a leaderboard. Ned running in 2nd, even Steven running in 3rd. Jesse Carlson and Timac side by side for the 4th place position, and it looks like Tyler's going to take that spot. Jesse overdrove the next corner, got off into the green strip a little bit. And they're heading into the final chicane of this racetrack, and we've seen a couple of different passes made in this corner, and they're still battling side by side for the lead. Bill Baldwin and Ned will not give it up, folks. Both of them have taken turns leading laps in this race. Even Steven is the one in 3rd, right behind them. And it looks like Ned's going to prevail over in turn 1. It's been a strong corner for him all race long in that Dodge Viper, and he's going to take the lead back from Bill Baldwin. Bill, using the draft, closes right back in on Ned. Contact was made. And down the long stretch they go. No pit stops made by any of the leaders so far, and whoa, Bill Baldwin got air back there. In that chicane, definitely hit the rumble strip wrong in there, hit the turtle, and he went airborne by maybe almost a foot. See if we can see that again. Watch Bill Baldwin here. You never know what you're going to see here in the NOSSCAR GT Cup Series, and folks, that might be the first time I've ever seen one of these GR3 cars in NOSSCAR go completely airborne, all 4 tires off the ground. Looking like a supercross race around here, and Juicy J would know all about that. NOSSCAR, of course, crowning champions on Supercross back in 2020. Juicy J holding a record for 15 wins in a single season for that series. Scored 7th here at Spa Francorchamps. And Ned's got the windshield wiper going, and I'm really not too sure why. Might be a malfunction with the car. Nevertheless, still leading this race. Bill Baldwin behind him in 2nd. The top 3 have all taken turns leading laps in this race. Timac yet to lead a lap, scored in 4th. Jesse Carlson hot on his tail, scored in 5th. Yet to lead a lap as well. And still looking to find victory lane for the first time on Gran Turismo in NOSSCAR. It's come close many times. Jesse has stood on the podium. He's got the fastest race lap in a race. He's done pretty much everything that he needs to do to get a win. And he's come close many times. One day, he's going to have his day. Still chasing Ned. coming up on the lap machine of Scorpion, driver out of France, 2 of them in today's race, and gets a little bit loose there, and he's going to let the race leader go by, which is Ned. And now the top 5 safely make it through. Ned, for the first time in about maybe 6 or 7 laps, has a little bit of breathing room, maybe since the start of the race. Ever since the green lights turned on, just there's pretty much been a battle for the lead every lap since then. Ned finds himself with about a 7 car length advantage as they work their way up through these last couple of turns of the circuit. And it's a 4-car battle for the 2nd to 5th place positions on the racetrack. And we should give a shout out to Beam SKP, driver out of France, podium finisher in this year's Rolex 8. He is really in the top 5. They've been battling hard with each other since the beginning of this race, and Beam has kind of been on his own. He's been able to take care of his equipment, take care of the tires, maybe even save a little bit of fuel that way, not battling with anybody for position and constantly being hounded and having to look in his mirrors all the time. He's been stress-free since the drop of the green flag, and he's finally reeling in the top 5 who may have already worn up some of their equipment. Timac has a win this season, came at Willow Springs. Currently sits 2nd in the point standings to Trenton Krentz, right now scored in 4th on the racetrack here in Belgium, having a good run. Still has Jesse Carlson not too far behind him, but he's worked his way up 3 positions since the start of this one. He's got the top 3 just in front of him. Top 3 led by the Dodge Viper of Ned. Even Steven in the Audi R8. Bill Baldwin in the Mazda Atenza. 5 different manufacturers represented in the top 5, and 3 countries represented in the top 6. And there was a problem there for the 32. Timac's going to lose the 4th place position to Jesse Carlson. We didn't see what happened there. Let's see if we can take a look. Completely misses the long swinging left-hand turn. We've seen a few drivers do that today. In fact, earlier we saw Daniel McGriff make contact with the inside wall, and that corner can really surprise these drivers and bite them at times. Timac surrenders the 4th place position to Jesse Carlson, and we're still watching the scoreboard, and Ned is still your race leader, and now green flag pit stops beginning. Timac has taken the position back from Jesse Carlson. Ned, Timac, and Jesse all electing to stay out 1 extra lap. Same with Jeffrey Robinson Jr. Doesn't look like Cameron Norton is coming into pit road either. Top 4 remain on the racetrack, and 2 Canadians at the top of the leaderboard for now, but these drivers will need to come to pit road either the next time by or maybe the time after. And it's kind of looking like it's going to be a 2-stop strategy for most of these front runners in this race, pitting at about the 19 to 21 minute mark. You would expect them in again maybe at about the 40-minute mark. And to pit road go the top 3. Jeffrey Robinson Jr. is going to stay out this time by. Looks like he's going to lead a lap in that Nissan GTR. Could be some strategy here. Wonder if he's been saving some fuel to maybe try a 1-stop strategy. These 60-minute endurance races really open the door for those types of strategies. And Timac fueling the car. Looks like they're going to try to pack it full. Jesse Carlson doing the same. Ned getting the Dodge Viper full of fuel, and he is down and away. Ned was the race leader before the cycle of pit stops began. It's going to be interesting to see if the strategy of pitting 1 lap sooner is going to benefit even Steven and Bill Baldwin or not. Great to see Jeffrey Robinson Jr. leading here in a NOSSCAR GT Cup Series race. He's won championships on Supercross and NASCAR 15 in NOSSCAR. He's won races in NOSSCAR on the NASCAR Heat Games as well. He's been waiting for the day where he's going to find victory lane in NOSSCAR on Gran Turismo Sport. He realizes the competition is very stiff here, and the drivers waiting every week for these races have been on Gran Turismo games for pretty much most of their lives, and almost daily race in league races or in the sport mode on Gran Turismo Sport. So they're very tough customers, very tough challengers, and this is their home game. And we'll see if Jeffrey's going to come to pit road this time by or not. He's definitely led a lap already, so he's got that in the bag. That's an accomplishment right there. And it looks like he is. He will bring the number 18 Nissan GTR to pit road for scheduled service, his first pit stop of the day, and it's going to come at about the 24-minute mark of the event. And I believe, yeah, this is going to catapult the number 15 Audi R8 of Trenton Krentz, the two-time NOSSCAR World Champion and the defending champion here in the NOSSCAR GT Cup Series. He will take the race lead. Evidently, pitting one lap sooner and having those fresher tires was a smart call, because also Bill Baldwin in the Mazda Atenza is scored in the second place position. The Canadian Ned in the Dodge Viper scored in third, and it's a long way back to Timac in the Nissan GTR, who has scored in fourth. Everybody quite spread at this stage, at this juncture in the race. Closest battle to the front is Jesse Carlson and Team SKP. That's the battle for fifth, and after staying out 2 extra laps, looks like Jeffrey Robinson Jr. is going to come out of the pits in the 7th place position. Shadow in the Ferrari scored in the 8th position, but he's going to lose that now to Daniel McGriff in the Audi R8. Daniel trying to recover from his earlier incident, spinning and hitting the wall, and he's going to take the 8th position away from Shadow. Rounding out the top 10, Cameron Norton, former NOSSCAR winner in the Platinum Cup Series on NASCAR Heat 3. And Scorpion still logging laps. 16 drivers started this event, 11 of them left on the track. 11 laps complete. And they're all chasing even Steven. And when these drivers show up here for an NOSSCAR race on Gran Turismo Sport, they know that they're going to need to beat even Steven to win the race. Been the top NOSSCAR driver on Gran Turismo Sport for a few years now, and has shown no signs of slowing down. Many of them will agree and tell you. Bill Baldwin as well. It's been here since the start. Always one of the heavy hitters, always up there battling for the win or the podiums. Right now scored in second. He's a 2-time NOSSCAR Super GT Series champion. Having a great season this year in the World Championship as well in the Super Formula cars. And that race coming up later today from Circuit de Spa Francorchamps. We got a double header here going on. Ned has led the most laps in this race in the Dodge Viper. He won the GT Cup class in the Rolex 8. History made there with the team of him and Footman. Scored in third here for today's race in the GT Cup Series. Timac in fourth. Rolex 8 winner for the Super GT class in the GR1 cars. Scored a win here for the GT Cup Series at Willow Springs, which was round 2 of the season. Since then, no wins. We're here in round 4 in Belgium. Currently sitting fourth. He's battled mostly with Jesse Carlson in this race. GTR is looking pretty strong here, running 4th and 7th. There's Jesse Carlson in the 48. Scored in 5th. Has NOSSCAR wins in 4 rather, on NASCAR Heat Games, including Platinum Cup. And he is one of 12 different Triple Crown winners in NOSSCAR on the NASCAR Heat Games, winning races in the Platinum Cup Series, Motormaster Series, and Tailgate Truck Series. He's been looking for victory lane for quite some time here on Gran Turismo Sport. It's come close on many different occasions, and we know his day is coming. And we have a change for 3rd. Whoa, and the Canadians swap positions there, and they almost swapped them again because Timac got about completely sideways in that swinging left-hand turn. It's been a problem corner a couple times here today for him, and he was able to capitalize on a problem Ned had a few corners beforehand, took the 3rd position away, and then almost gave it right back. Continuing our rundown, Beam SKP driver running in 6th place, highest running driver out of France in this event so far. French drivers running in 6th and 11th at this time. 2 wins for him in the NOSSCAR Tailgate Truck Series on NASCAR Heat 5. Made the Final 4, made it very interesting, and made a great run for the championship in his rookie season. Next year, 2022. He will be entering the Truck Series again full-time, along with the NOSSCAR Platinum Cup Series on NASCAR Heat 5. He's made a couple of starts in the World Championship this year on Gran Turismo Sport. Jeffrey Robinson Jr. in the 7th place position. Former champion on NASCAR 15 and Supercross here in NOSSCAR. Looking for that first win on Gran Turismo Sports. It doesn't look like it's going to come today. He's a little bit too far behind the race leaders to capitalize on any type of problem or do anything with any kind of strategy. He was only able to save enough fuel to pit at about the 24-minute mark, and I don't believe that's going to be close enough to the end to make it on a one-stop strategy. And even then, I don't think he would have the gap, the track position to stay in front of all 6 cars that are in front of him on the leaderboard right now. But still a solid run for the driver of the number 18 Nissan GTR. Always brings a very nice paint job to these races as well. They're all chasing the 2-time NOSSCAR World Champion, Even Steven. There he is. And there is Bill Baldwin. The Mazda Atenza came to play. Came with a vengeance here, circuit to Spa Francorchamps. Winless so far this season. A couple of podiums though. Seated in the top 5 in the point standings after 3 races, coming into this one with high hopes. One of his better tracks. He's won before in the Super GT Series at this racetrack, and he's closing in on Even Steven. The first driver amongst the front runners to make it to pit road for their 2nd scheduled pit stop is Beam SKP, pitting out of the 6th place position. Jeffrey Robinson Jr. going to stay out an extra lap, and it's no surprise. It seems to be a strategy he's chose to go with here. Side by side for 3rd and 4th, the 2 Canadians going at it again. Always respectful. Don't believe there's been contact yet between the 2. They see the bigger picture, and Timac electing to let Ned go. Both of them pit on the same lap for their first scheduled pit stop, and it very well might be the plan again. And action on pit road at the 40-minute mark. the top 4 are all going to come to pit road. Jesse Carlson is going to come to pit road as well, so give it the top 5 all heading to pit road for scheduled service, and it will be their last pit stop of the race unless they have a problem and they need to make some repairs. And all eyes on Jeffrey Robinson Jr. He's definitely got more fuel in the tank than any other car out on the racetrack right now, but even he is electing to bring that Nissan GTR to pit road. Beam has already made his last pit stop of the race. He's looking to gain some track position because of this, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can get that Dodge Viper out in front of some of these drivers that he was not in front of before the cycle of pit stops. He's going to be close to beating Jesse Carlson, but he's not going to be quite close enough. He will still remain in the 6th place position after the last cycle of pit stops, but a very strong, healthy gap over Jeffrey Robinson Jr. We're all still chasing Even Steven, the 2-time world champ. Bill Baldwin, not too far behind him. He's the 2-time NOSSCAR Super GT Series champion. And no championships, but several different wins, 2 different series for him in NOSSCAR. Time back and forth, not too far behind him. Jesse Carlson scored in 5th. The top 5 very close together still, and pretty much I'd say the top 6 still all have a strong chance to win this race. Just certain things would need to happen for some of the drivers that are a little bit further back in the running order. We're working the 43-minute mark of this race. And we've seen Bill Baldwin close the gap and make a challenge to Even Steven a couple of different times in this race. We've seen Ned battle for it as well. And the question is, can Bill Baldwin get there before the end of this race and give Even Steven a run for his money? When they work their way down the longest stretch of the track, it seems like the gap is about 15 car lengths, maybe about 12. Well, we're going to have about, I don't know, another maybe another 6 or 7 laps before the end of this one. It could be 8 laps depending on when they hit the line and when the clock runs out. Bill Baldwin is going to have to push hard for this. Ned is a little bit too far back to make a run for the lead at this juncture. So it's going to be a battle for the win, and it's going to be a battle for the final spot on the podium, and possibly between the 2 Canadians. Jesse Carlson not too far behind either. Got 1 car a lap down in between he and Timac, and that is Shadow in the Ferrari, who's currently scored in the 8th place position, having a solid day. Cars started on the grid, 11 left on the racetrack, 20 laps complete in this race, and we're still watching to see and waiting to see who's going to win this one, because Bill is definitely closing it in. The gap is definitely shrinking between the top 2. It was about 12 to 15 car lengths that last lap by down the longest stretch of this circuit, and this time by, I'd have to estimate, about 5 to 8 car lengths. It's definitely much closer than it was before. It's to the point now where if he can stay that close, he might even be able to utilize the draft and get closer to him. There's 2 long straightaways where the draft definitely plays a role. And a little over 12 minutes remaining in this race. Bill's running out of time, but he's definitely doing all the right things, folks. The gap is shrinking between the top 2. Both of them have won NOSSCAR championships, and both of them looking to add to their already impressive NOSSCAR resumes. The top 5, 3 different manufacturers. top 6 have 3 countries represented in them. It's likely history will be made again here for the NOSSCAR GT Cup Series, and this time it will happen in Belgium. And this is one of the sections of the racetrack where Bill Baldwin could be close enough to use the draft, and here he comes. The gap is shrinking. Had it down to about 7 car lengths once they reached the corners, once they hit the chicane. It's Audi versus Mazda, and even Steven overdrives the second portion of the chicane, got off into the green strip a little bit, and there's no grip on that part of the racetrack. One of the lapped cars giving way, letting the leaders go by. That was Cameron Norton, scored in the 9th place position. Number 88 Chevy Corvette. And how many times, folks, have we seen the number 15 Audi R8 and the number 21 Mazda Atenza go at it for a race win here in NOSSCAR on Gran Turismo Sport? It seems to be a tradition. Even Steven versus Bill Baldwin. Under 10 minutes remaining. 11 cars left on the racetrack. All 16 drivers who entered will receive points. The podium looks to be pretty decided when it comes to the 3rd place position. Timac not quite close enough to be in the draft with Ned. Ned's Dodge Viper has been really solid ever since the start of this race. He had the most laps led for most of this race, but he's been surpassed now by even Steven for that statistic. He led a lot early in this one. And Bill's momentum has kind of stalled out at this point. There are certain sections of this racetrack where even Steven seems to have the advantage and is able to pull his lead back out, and then I'd say over in sector 1 and 2 is where Bill Baldwin gains most of that back. You can see Bill getting a little bit loose that most recent time by coming out of the corner. We'll check it out again. Keep your eye on the 21 Mazda Atenza of Bill Baldwin as they work their way through this last couple of corners. You'll see the rear tires spin, and he almost goes completely to the right and off the racetrack, but a good save, grabbed a handful of steering wheel and didn't lose that much time to the 2-time world champ. Up the hill they go. They're always full throttle through this section of the racetrack and down the long stretch. You can see that the gap is much larger than it was the most recent lap by. Either even Steven has turned up the wick a little bit, or Bill Baldwin's tires could be going south on him. Did he use all of his stuff up trying to make that charge? Well, at this point, Bill Baldwin still losing ground to your race leader. He's fading a little bit here with under 5 minutes remaining. Even Steven closing in on what would be another very impressive NOSSCAR GT Cup Series win. Statistically, the most successful NOSSCAR GT Cup Series driver in history. The reigning and defending champion. Flexing his muscle a little bit here in Belgium as he extends his race lead over Bill Baldwin in the late stages of this race. They both pit on the same lap. In fact, the top 6 all pit on the same lap. And with under 2 minutes remaining and being on the second to last lap of this race, even Steven looks to have all of this well figured out. Ned's got a firm hold on third. Timac too far back to utilize any type of draft and capitalize on any kind of problem Ned may have. Jesse Carlson in the number 48 Chevy Corvette runs in fifth, and he's got 2-lap fresher tires than the French driver behind him, Beam SKP in the Dodge Viper, who scored in the 6th place position and is well behind Jesse Carlson at this point in the race. You could see the 48 Corvette get really out of shape a couple of corners ago, and the officials have actually given him a time penalty because he technically cut the track because of him losing control back there. I'll have to see that again, folks. The chicane at the end of the long stretch has really been a wild corner for some of these drivers, and as you can see, after the chicane and into the right-hand turn, loses control up and over the green strip and actually caught a little bit of air in a spot that was very close to the spot where Bill Baldwin found air earlier in this one. Ten seconds away and this race will become official, and these drivers are working on their last lap here in Belgium. The first driver to cross the line and complete his race is Timac, and he will finish in 4th. Jesse Carlson will finish in 5th. Beam SKP is going to hold on to the 6th place position. The top 3 reach the start-finish line before the clock reached 0, and they will come around and complete the lap that they are on. Even Steven letting it all hang out. You could see drift in that car around some of these corners. Having a little bit of fun on this last lap. Bill Baldwin is not quite close enough to capitalize on a major mistake. He's not too far behind, maybe. Solid run for Ned in the number 24 Twisted T Dodge Viper, winner of the GT Cup class in the Rolex 8 this year. He's going to bring it home in 3rd. Only a couple of more corners for Even Steven. 2-time NOSSCAR World Champion, defending champion here in the NOSSCAR GT Cup Series. Through the final couple of corners, coming up to the last chicane on the racetrack. 2-time world champ, flexing his muscle here in Belgium. Good battles all race long with Bill Baldwin and Ned and Timac and Jesse Carlson. It was a wild one here in Belgium. Even Steven wins the Belgium Grand Prix. Bill Baldwin holds on to 2nd. Strong run for the Godfather. And the Canadian Ned is going to hold on and stand strong on the podium with Even Steven and Bill. Thank you to everybody who tuned in for round 4 of the 2021 GT Cup Series season. More action coming your way on the NOSSCAR YouTube channel. Good night, everybody, and stay fast.